okay there, Nala? Bam! Episode 61. And today I got on a dear friend, and I want to talk about some good stuff, some good dietary stuff for people, since everybody always has so many damn questions. And I wanted to get a different opinion because everybody's like on a diet, on a vegetarian movement. So, Vivica Menegaz, what's going on? How are you? Welcome to Curious Radio. We've been talking about doing this for a little bit, and I'm glad you're in LA. And yeah, I wanted to talk about with you especially because and you're always trying to get me to eat meat. And I wanted to get the other side of like, you know, from a nutritional standpoint because you really know the game. And I don't know. I just wanted to have you on and talk about that. I think it's a topic people need to know. You know.
Anything.
First, tell me about the Nourished Caveman. Like, where did that all start?
So the Nourished Caveman is my blog, and it started one night at 4 in the morning.
One morning at 4 in the morning.
Yeah. See, in Italy we say night, so it's lost in translation sometimes.
Yeah.
But
all right.
you know those nights when you wake up and you start thinking about stuff, and I usually get what I think are my best ideas at around 2 to 4 in the morning. Like I wake up and I'm like, oh, I should do that. That's the bomb. That's it.
Yeah.
And I get all excited about it. But
it's inspirational. You just get, you know.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it, you know, downloads, inspiration, or, you know, your subconscious finally decluttering
getting
your
through
brain and managing to like get through to you.
It makes sense. And it makes sense too, because a lot of times, like, you know, people, when you're sleeping is sometimes when your brain is shutting off, then, you know, the subconscious is probably able to get through because you're, you know, not thinking about so much.
Well, because we're so busy every day and like stuff is coming at us so fast, especially with technology, that like it's a constant bombardment, like information overload. And so I think sometimes that the only moment when we really have downtime is when we're sleeping. And so sometimes it's like I feel like my mind wakes me up in order to tell me things, you know, and I need to make a list of stuff that, you know, it comes through that I wouldn't think about during the day because it's like, go.
That's the key, writing it down sometimes. You know what I mean? Like when you get hit with it, because you know, we all have great ideas. Everybody always says, I had such great ideas, but it's like, well, you didn't do shit about it. You didn't write it down. You didn't whatever, you know, you didn't follow through with it.
Right.
So it came to you in the middle of the night.
Because like it was about, 5 years ago, and I was already studying nutrition. I was working for a practice. Working for a doctor of chiropractic as a patient advocate. So I was counseling patients on detoxing, nutrition. And as I was doing that, people kept asking me for recipes. And they were like, recipes, what do we eat? And I got really fed up. And I was like, I should just start writing recipes.
Yeah.
And, you know, I come from Italy. But not just that, like my first 7 years were pretty much spent in the kitchen of a restaurant.
Really?
Well, my mom and my grandma had this little restaurant and hotel.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, you know, my mom learned how to cook from the chefs, and I was always running around like between the legs of the chefs and like knives and French fries and, you know, crazy stuff like that. But for me, that was home. That was normal. So food kind of really runs deep.
Yeah, it kind of comes full circle in your life.
Totally. And so I was like, okay, I need to start writing some recipes for these people because like.
So you would just create these whatever food, right? You don't have like a recipe written down. You just know them by heart, whatever you cooked or something.
I usually just cook from inspiration. And I'm very freeform because like I'm not the kind of person that will write stuff down actually, and I just like put it together in a second.
That's a discipline in itself, writing shit down, you know?
Yes, and I've written 3 cookbooks now. Man, that I had to take it to the next level because I really didn't like doing that. And then it's like, you know, people ask you, how'd you do that? And I'm like, you just take some of this, some of that, put it all together, and they're like, huh?
Yeah. What's easy for you is a different language for them.
Yes, especially because in America, we don't have a culture of food like in the United States. And so people are not raised cooking, you know, so they're really lacking kind of like that instinct about it. Like they're cut off from that, like their playful cooking nature or, you know, they don't see it. A lot of women that I work with, they're like, I have not the slightest idea how to cook, and they hate it. And it's really sad because for me, cooking is like it's part of my spiritual practice almost, you know, it grounds me, and like it's
Totally. I see that a lot.
creative, you know, and like really can express my creativity. I love feeding people.
Yeah,
as
I've
you
seen
know.
it. Yeah.
Yes,
You
you've
get
seen
down
it
on
in
your
action.
meals. Speaking of which, she lives in like the dopest place. I love your place. It's so awesome, man. You got the craziest view. It's in the middle of nature. It's great. You're right though. It's kind of like it's its own form of art, like cooking, you know. And
Totally.
it's true. I guess here in America, like even now in the school systems, they've cut out, you know, the culinary classes and performing arts department. Those are the first things to go when they're cutting budgets. You know, it's kind of sad.
That's a whole other conversation,
Yeah.
a long one, like
Yeah.
a big rabbit hole right
Yeah,
there.
yeah, exactly.
So back to the Nourished Caveman, I decided to start a blog to write recipes. And I was like, you know, what am I going to call it? Because I was doing paleo at the time, you know, paleo diet.
Yeah.
But I came
Well,
from...
explain paleo for people who don't know what paleo
All right,
is.
so paleo, it's kind of debatable too, but paleo in general, kind of a broad definition is like unprocessed foods, no grains, and no dairy.
Okay.
So you get to eat all the veggies, and you get to eat, basically it's like an ancestral diet, supposedly eating like our forefathers, you know, hunter-gatherers were eating.
Before shit was processed.
Before farming.
Yeah.
So whatever is not farmed, but before farming, there were also no animal husbandry. So it's whatever you could hunt or gather.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, you know, which is not that easy to do nowadays. You go, I go gather some stuff at the supermarket, huh?
Exactly.
Let me go hunt a piece of burger at the butcher.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
We're cut off from that. I think that's a big part of it too, that we're cut off from, like, we're just, food appears at your table.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks about the process, like the animal, the state of the animal was living in, you know, where that animal was raised, what they've pumped into that animal, like.
That's right. It's especially kids these days, they're so like totally cut off both from nature and from their food sources, which, you know,
because the process is at an all-time high right now. Like these industries are like booming right now, but I think people are figuring it out.
Yeah, there is definitely a lot of awareness coming, and we'll talk about that when we'll get to talk about meat or no meat. I feel like there is a really great awakening, but at the same time, it can, you know, this energy is misdirected sometimes.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
you were eating paleo at the time.
I was eating paleo, coming from a Weston Price kind of traditional nourishing diet. So Dr. Weston A. Price is one of like the forefathers of nutrition, like founding fathers of modern nutrition in the United States. And he was a dentist who traveled the world looking for the last indigenous tribes that were untouched by, he called them the foods of commerce. And so they were still eating their ancestral diets as, you know, tribal people. The reason why he did that, because he was trying to prove from a dentist standpoint that when you ate an ancestral diet, you would have no cavities and a perfect jaw development. And your whole skull basically would be perfectly developed.
Yeah.
You know, like people these days have like a lot of cavities, and then everybody's got their wisdom teeth.
When I was a kid, I had a bunch of cavities because I used to love candy.
We need to talk about that later.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, that's bad.
Really?
Metal fillings?
No, I don't have metal anymore. They put metal in.
They took them out.
Yeah, they took them out.
Yeah, that's bad too.
Yeah.
Because that's heavy metals. It's mercury.
When it leaks out when they take it out.
Yeah.
Unless you go to a place.
Right.
I'm
then you're flooded with mercury. It happened to me.
Yeah, I might have it too.
Yeah. Anyways.
I'm feeling good. So.
For now.
So I know. Yeah. So you were following that practice with this doctor.
Mm.
And
so there was this kind of discussion started, is like headbutting between these two big, you know, dietary kind of movements. One was like the nourishing traditions, which took from the teachings of Dr. Weston Price, and it was all about ancestral diet, but with grains and dairy. But they advocated like raw dairy and fermented and sprouted grains. So there was a certain way to prepare things for like high nutrient foods or nutrient dense foods.
Processed foods are still not even in the conversation.
Those are not foods anyways.
They're not. Yeah, exactly.
Processed foods are like one step from plastic, at least in my opinion.
It's kind of crazy, actually. Like when you eat super, super clean, like, And I can taste, it almost tastes like plastic to me sometimes when you eat this shit. You're like, what the fuck what are you guys putting in this?
There's so much chemicals in there and additives and
Yeah.
flavorings
Yeah.
and preservatives and stuff that don't belong in your body.
Yeah. Yeah. And it makes you feel like shit right after.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But you know, when you're toxic, like really, really toxic, you don't feel it.
You're desensitized to it. And that's what I tell a lot of people. I'm like, you guys don't realize how shitty you're feeling until you're aware, like, of how shitty it feels, like, to walk. You think that things are normal in your life, you know, having discomfort, having gas all the time, or having this, or this just hurts, or I just get acne here, and I just get this there. It's like, those are reactions from your body, like something's going on.
Sorry.
You know, you're desensitized, but. Yeah. So you're this war's going on between these two, not war, but these debate.
Kind of a war. It was pretty serious
Really?
for a minute. Insults flying and like
shit.
name calling and stuff. Yeah.
It's a nutritional beef.
It was. And I was like, what the hell are they doing? Like, this is so stupid. We're talking about kind of pretty much the same things with some minor variations, but there can be a way of eating that really combines these two traditions, these two philosophies, and optimizes it for people.
Yeah, depending on the individual, correct?
Depending on the individual. Of course, it's always depending on the individual. Bottom line, you know, it is on the individual and what works for you, because like you're as individual as your microbiome, which is like the bacteria in your gut, which is highly individual, and it can be very functional or very dysfunctional depending from person to person.
Yeah, depending on what you're putting in your body.
Yes,
you know.
and stuff like heavy metals, like you might have, that will kill your gut flora and give you leaky gut, and then like autoimmune
ulcers.
not even ulcers, but like systemic candida, autoimmune conditions, and just like, you know, it's just a domino effect. It starts at the root of, you know, things like heavy metals or toxins,
because they replace nutrients because of their weight, right? They're heavier than
they replace minerals in the cells, but they're toxic. And so they will start, but one thing they do in your gut is like they kill the beneficial bacteria, and then because the layer of mucus that hosts the beneficial bacteria is so thin in our gut, they will like put holes literally through our gut lining. And so the proteins will start leaking through your gut and into your bloodstream when they're not properly broken down. So
doesn't corn break down the gut lining too? Like a lot of corn.
Well, GMO
corn,
GMO processed foods, like genetically engineered foods, because they're not recognized entirely by the body, they can become allergenic proteins. So even if we're not like having a sensitivity or even an allergy to a protein, but a protein can always kind of start a sensitivity when the body doesn't recognize it, and it recognizes it as an attacker instead. And so it becomes an antigen, and that's what we build antibodies to. And especially if it's going to start leaking through. So
into the bloodstream. So your bloodstream is becoming toxic too, because unprocessed proteins.
It's, you know, the workings of the immune system are pretty crazy. Like I was reading this one book about the immune system, especially from the gut, and all the different, like, you know, white cells and leukocytes and monocytes and lymphocytes. And I was like, man, this is like a sci-fi story. It's crazy.
It kind of is.
It totally is.
Even with gut bacteria, dealing like with what the dominating gut bacteria is in the stomach. Well, I tell people, I'm like, when you're getting a craving, that's just the gut bacteria asking you for more sugar, or more carbs, or whatever it may be. It has more power. The more you eat that shit, the more power it has over you.
Yeah.
You know, we think that the gut is separated from us. Like, that shit is controlling us.
They call it the gut brain these days.
Yeah, it's a brain.
It's like your second brain. There is so many neuroconnectors.
Maybe your first brain.
Maybe. You know, gut feeling. Maybe
yeah,
it's just
like
the neuroconnectors in the gut that are like, you know, really powerful. And
that's where you feel emotion. That's where you feel it's like your root. Everything's here, you know. It's kind of like, it's weird. So that's going on between the debates. But you guys, it's all really going back to basically a non-processed diet.
Ancestral diet, yes. And so I decided to show them what's up.
The two of them?
Yeah, well, the two traditions, the two philosophies. And I was like, I'm going to call this blog the Nourished Caveman, because, you know, caveman is from paleo, because it's caveman everything. And then from nourishing traditions, so the nourished foods and, you know, all of that is from Western Fries.
Really clever.
Yeah, nobody ever gets it unless there's
It's
this
deep,
long explanation about it.
but
Like,
it's good. It's a good story. That's great.
well,
Yeah.
thank you. But, and then they're like, why caveman and not cave woman? So everybody thinks it's a man. And
Oh,
I'm like, I'm
yeah.
Italian,
Yeah.
so English sometimes after 20 years is still
Yeah.
kind of lost in translation.
No, but you speak multiple languages. You speak a lot of languages. Your Spanish is real good.
Mm-hmm.
You speak your Italian. You speak English.
German, Portuguese.
See what I'm saying? It's impressive. That's why when people are like, this person doesn't speak here, I'm like, that person speaks another language. So I don't know. So the Nourished Caveman began, and you started putting up recipes on this blog,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of putting them out there.
Yeah, and then it just happened by,
Consistency.
no, more by like fortuitous accident. There are no such things.
Yeah,
But
of course.
it just happened that I started doing a ketogenic diet because I found a ketogenic diet and I was investigating it. So I wanted to design a course for the patients of the practice. I started doing it myself and I found out I was pre-diabetic,
Oh, damn.
which should have been no surprise at all because, my grandfather died of diabetes and I was like, duh, you should have thought about this. And I was at that point, like starting to gain weight and,
Were you doing a lot of sugar?
I was eating a lot of fruit. And we
interesting.
lived in a place where in summer, like we lived on a homestead at that point, and there was like crazy fruit trees everywhere. So
Yeah.
put this down. And I was just gaining weight, and I was drinking wine, like not every night, but
Yeah.
2-3 times a
A
week.
lot of nights.
A lot of nights. That's what happens when you're married.
Yeah,
You need
yeah.
to drink wine every night.
Get drunk.
Uh-oh.
Drop the thing.
Well, my ex-husband drank wine every night, so
damn.
I had to keep him company, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I think that was definitely a part of it because, wine is from grapes and it has
A lot of
fructose.
sugar. Yeah.
And it's not just any sugar, it's fructose,
Yeah.
but it's sugar. And
Yeah.
plus,
Sugar.
eating, things like for paleo, honey is okay.
Well, you see it, like I say honey's honey. I'm like, you see it in people's faces though. Like when they drink a lot of wine, we become like I get puffy,
Of course,
you know what I mean?
yeah, you do.
and it's like, and then my whole body gets kind of pudgy. You know what I mean? I'm kind of like,
Well, it's two things. One is you retain more water because
Yeah.
of the carbs,
Yeah.
and the other thing is that you congest your liver constantly, and so your liver and then your kidney pathways, they become kind of congested, so you're not able to like clean out the toxins as efficiently as you would do if you had a clean liver.
damn,
Mm-hmm.
dropping knowledge on everybody today.
I can go on detoxing
Yeah.
for a long time. That's
No, it's
kind
good.
of like
Most people don't mean
the core.
it's a lot though. I mean, you have a lifetime of knowledge on this, and it's like because it kind of comes full circle, right? Food and everything comes full circle with you, and yeah, I mean, it's a lot to learn, and I think that's why a lot of people are so like, fuck it, like what's the use? You know what I mean? Because it seems like such a mountain to climb, but I'm always like, it's really just baby steps.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the good thing, and we were just talking about it a minute ago, is that your body will actually take quite a bit of abuse. And I'm not recommending that you abuse your body, but it might happen,
Yeah.
in the moments of life.
In the in the process of
the
living
process
is,
of living. But your body will take a lot if you're detoxing. So
Oh, I've put my body through a lot.
yeah, I did too. I was young too at some
Yeah,
point
yeah.
back in the days.
But now, like even thinking about it, I'm like, oh my God, like not knowing.
Yeah, but you can even just like eating good and like really providing the body the nutrients it needs. And okay, so let me make a premise here. There is a difference between what I call detox retox. I don't recommend that because detox retox is actually really stressful on the body.
Yeah, you're going from extreme to extreme.
Right. So you'll go and like do like, okay, I'm just going to do a super juice detox, which is another thing that I totally don't recommend. And I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
But you'll detox and then the next day you're just like, chugging the drinks
Yeah.
and
Getting fucked up.
the chemicals and
Yeah.
all of it.
Yeah.
And that's really stressful on your body. So
Yeah.
stress raises cortisol, it taxes your adrenals,
So
it
your
throws your
adrenal glands are
hormones out
blown
of
out.
whack, your adrenals blow out.
Your endocrine system's out of whack. Damn.
Yeah, and so it's better that you kind of stay moderate, but at least trying to eat well, giving your body some solid nutrition you will be able to tolerate a lot more abuse. And by the abuse, I'm not saying that everybody needs to go out and party, but
Yeah.
even like the daily stressors of like
Yeah.
stress and like toxins. Like we live in a super toxic world right now, and most people don't even want to think about that.
Yeah. Because again, because it's such a mountain, but it's like everything's baby steps.
It is. The
Baby steps.
toxins, it's crazy. And sometimes if I think about it too hard, it overwhelms me. But I know that I have like, you know, the ace in my back pocket.
Yeah.
And that's detoxing.
Yeah.
So that's how I manage to stay out of trouble. Like people are really afraid of cancer. You're really afraid of Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, stuff that you don't think about so much when you're younger.
Yeah.
As you start getting older, you're like, oh shit, like, you know,
I haven't
what
taken
if
care of
I
this.
end up, you know, with dementia? Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to end up in an old people's home.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
You
I have a
can
parent who had cancer, so it's like for me, that's why I think about it a lot. I'm like, ooh, let's take care of the body now, because it's already, you know, genetically, you know, I'm sure there's a lot. It's already there, so it could be. Why
I
even
got
play
my
the chance?
DNA test in my purse. I
you
need
did
to
the
mail it
23andMe?
Yes, I just got it.
I saw there was a sale for Father's Day weekend or
I
something.
got it,
It was like
yes.
30% off. I should have gotten it. Damn it.
Yeah, I got the full health and ancestry panel.
It gives you everything. People don't realize it gives you everything,
I
all your
know.
genetics, what you're allergic to, your intolerance, all that shit.
But so here's my premise with my kind of caveat with that is that I believe in epigenetics, which for those of you who have never heard of it, epigenetics is a relatively new science, and it's a science of how to modulate your gene expression through lifestyle and diet. So
Yeah.
back to like lifestyle and diet, back to like healthy eating, nourishing, detoxing, you can change your DNA.
You're training the body to see what genes are represented right and turned on or off, depending on
Exactly.
what you're putting into your body.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And by the way, DNA is not made of stone. I'm like, this is not
Yeah.
the Rosetta Stone, you guys. It's made of like carbon and like different atoms that are completely renewable.
It's fluid,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
It
and like
changes.
we recreate our body. Like I think it's every 9 years. Every single cell of
Yeah.
our body is new. And the DNA,
I think it's
that's
7
why-
actually.
7 to
I want to say 7. Let me just
I-
think 7.
maybe we can agree on 8.
Yeah, 8.
If
Yeah.
you have a slow metabolism.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny.
I don't remember, but something like that.
Yeah.
You know, so you're a whole new person.
But I like thinking about that because even in a day, like even when I'm showering, right, and I'm scrubbing, like you're scrubbing dead skin cells off. You know what I mean? And you're giving your body the ability to create new skin cells. And I'm like, I'm putting in good shit in my body now. Like I was putting in bullshit before, so I'm like,
Right.
I can't wait to see what comes out. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what this process has been like. Cause yeah, the epigenetics, I've heard a lot about that. And it's fascinating to me because you know that's how. If you say, for example, if a gene is represented, it can be represented right, and then because you're doing more damage, it gets worse. You know, but you can also
They'll
just
get activated.
Yeah.
Like cancer genes, we call the oncogenes, they'll get activated.
Yeah, in your DNA.
Or
Yeah.
you can still keep it dormant, you know.
Exactly.
So like you can
Lifestyle.
keep it switch off or switch it on.
it's fascinating. It's like
Yeah.
a little program. It's like a little computer
It
game.
is. It's really cool. Like studying DNA, it's one of the things on my bucket list, you know.
Yeah.
I'm a total nerd.
Yeah.
Like people are like, oh, I want to go bungee jumping on my bucket list. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to study the DNA.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's fascinating because once you know that, you know everything. You know everything about yourself at least. Especially now, you're one step closer. You just got your DNA kit. You're about to figure everything out.
Yeah, and yes and no. I kind of believe in that, but also not. But I think that really in the DNA, there is more than we think. And also
sure.
like the whole thing that 98% of our DNA is called like junk DNA. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like it's
But it
just
doesn't make any sense.
not right,
Yeah.
you know? And we can go into a very esoteric kind of
Yeah.
conversation here, but let's not do that quite
Yeah.
yet.
But it's
Let's
also
stick to the meat.
yeah. But it's also I just think that I don't know. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, we can get into that or not.
Maybe another podcast.
Yeah. So you start doing this Nourished Caveman, and then at what point did you decide to write a book on it?
Well, my first book was a community cookbook with fellow bloggers. I was really lucky, I guess, because I'm a good networker, but I
Yeah.
got into a group of bloggers who were like big bloggers,
Yeah.
really established with millions of followers.
Yeah.
And then I start hanging out with them, like digitally hang out
Yeah.
with them.
What a weird
And-
world we're living in.
You know, right?
Hanging out with my digital friends.
Yes, my virtual friends. I have lots of those.
Yeah, that's funny.
And, you know, they kind of took me in and they just started like helping me my blog grow. And kind of within a year from being nobody, I was on the map.
Yeah.
And,
Beautiful.
you know,
But it's also because you had something of substance to say. You know, I always say like good content is going to find ears or eyes or whatever, you know what I mean? And if you're providing good content, you're not just getting a following because of these people. It's because you had, you know, good shit on you.
I think so. Aside from the fact that my first recipes were like all organ meats.
Yeah.
I'm like, nobody really follows my blog because like if I was all cupcakes, I would have millions of followers.
Maybe.
But,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, that's
But
how
there's a
I-
million. Those are so cookie cutter, you know. You don't want to be another one of those.
Yeah, there are many of those blogs and you know, they have millions of followers and
Yeah.
I have hundreds of thousands of followers,
Yeah.
but I don't care. I am liver all the way. Like,
Yeah. That's funny.
I'm still like,
Liver and onions.
or liver and bacon. Not bacon anymore because I don't eat pork now,
I
but
don't eat pork. I've never really eaten pork.
lamb bacon.
Yeah.
I just heard of that. I'm like,
Lamb
oh,
bacon?
Lamb bacon.
I mean, I've had turkey bacon.
Yeah, that's
not the same.
Kind of no. Yeah. I think it's for me that kind of I consider it processed food.
Yeah. That's
It's
why
a little
weird.
too processed.
It tastes like spammy, right? Almost like spam.
Yeah, there is stuff in there that just doesn't taste right.
Hot dogs. What-
Hot dogs can be good if they're homemade, like homemade style.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like a regular 7-Eleven hot dog. You know what I mean? Like what is in those things?
Everything.
Yeah.
It's kind of
yeah.
like cat food with different flavor.
What do you think is the easiest thing that people can do like right now to like change, you know, how they feel or just to take a good step towards their health? You know what I mean? Like how do you tell people to start off like?
So for me, like one couple of really easy solutions, like stop drinking soda, for heaven's sake. Soda is not, that's plastic. Okay. When I
It's-
call something plastic, for me, that is not edible. Sure, it tastes good. It's like sugar and caffeine, makes you all wired, you feel good, and then you crash.
I haven't had a soda in years, and I worked at Coca-Cola for years. So I was in the belly of the
Ouchie.
beast. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's a good place to be, though.
yeah.
The belly of the beast.
Yeah, it's true.
That's where we are right here in the United States.
It's true. Oh my God, we're gonna talk about that later.
Mm.
And I look at it and I'm like, being there from a sales perspective, people drink so much fucking soda. It's insane.
I know.
I haven't had one in years, and I'm like, and people are like, I can't give up a day without it. I'm like, because you're not trying to give it up.
Okay, let me give you one good reason to stop drinking soda. Soda has phosphoric acid in it. And phosphoric acid, what it does, it alters the pH of your body. So there is all this talk about acidity
Alkaline.
and alkaline. Well, guess what? Meat doesn't really do that. Soda does that, acidifies your body. And phosphoric acid is something that I use in my practice for patients because it can be medicinal. But when you drink it like that, what it does, it just pulls the calcium out of your bones.
Interesting. That's why it
And-
dissolves teeth too, right?
Yeah. And, you know, when you have that crazy stuff on the toilet that is like calcium deposits, all encrusted, and
Yeah.
you can't get it off, and you have to scrub it with a pumice stone.
Coca-Cola, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
When you got
Why?
rust on that bumper,
Yeah.
Coca-Cola. When your
There you go.
when your battery has corrosion on it.
Coca-Cola
Yeah.
cleans in that truck engine like
Yeah.
nobody's business.
Yeah, just pour it all over that shit. But you
And
got to
hose
wash
it
it off.
off.
Yeah, because the sugar's going to, you know.
Yeah, otherwise it's worse.
It'll just make holes in that metal. And it's fascinating to me that people can't give it up. I'm like, I don't think you're trying to give it up. And a lot of it is people don't realize how much soda they drink when they're drinking. Because you get a chaser, right? If you're
Oh.
like, let me do, Jack and Coke.
Right.
And they're like, I don't drink soda. It's like, well, when you're drinking,
right.
like Jack and Coke, you might think you're only having 2 or 3, but then you're
Gin
having,
and tonic.
yeah.
Who
yeah.
doesn't love a good gin and tonic?
You
and
do a whiskey
diet
ginger
sodas
ale.
too. And they're like, oh, but I drink diet soda. It doesn't have sugar. No, it just has like a cancer-causing chemical together with the phosphoric acid, so
Yeah.
to make everything better. Like
Yeah.
it's a chemical cocktail.
It does. There's no way around it. You know what I've tried? Have you tried like stevia?
Zevias.
Yeah, like they have like Zevia is one of them. There's
I don't like so okay. So if I want bubbles, I'll
Yeah.
drink bubble water, and that's because not just because I'm a snob Italian elitist. They call me all kinds
I
of
love that
stuff
shit too though.
sometimes.
It's good.
I drink some Pellegrino. If
Oh.
you want to drink national like California, drink Arrowhead.
Yeah.
Can't pronounce it. Arrowhead has great bubbly water. Trader Joe's.
Oh,
It's
really?
$1 a bottle, even flavored.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I've seen it.
orange flavor, lemon flavor. The berry one is
I use them to
disgusting.
take my apple cider vinegar shots. I dilute them with like a bubble, like a carbonated. It doesn't taste bad because
No, that's pretty good.
apple cider vinegar is fucking awful to drink by
By
itself.
itself.
It's terrible. But if you mix it up with like one of those
You need to
carbonated
make
drinks,
fire cider. That
Fire
stuff
cider?
is the bomb.
What is
and
that?
then you'll you have shots and it's so good.
fire cider.
Fire cider is like one of my favorite like home remedies, kind of like, grandma's kitchen remedies.
Yeah.
And you infuse apple cider vinegar with onions, garlic, ginger, really hot chilies, and what's the other one? Horseradish. And you let it sit steep for like 2 to 3 months.
These are all like very like powerful foods. Horseradish, like
ginger,
ginger,
like turmeric is amazing.
apple cider vinegar.
Lots of garlic and
Garlic.
habaneros,
All of those are
jalapenos.
like on the top of their scales. That's
Yes.
interesting.
And it becomes like this amazing, super crazy, spicy medicinal drink that kills your viruses and boosts your immune system.
Like right away.
Well, but I drink it like when I have if I ever get sick.
And it's a
like,
shot?
You can do a shot. I wouldn't do a shot like this because you'd be running around howling.
So so it's like 3 ounces or
No, about an ounce at a time. That'd be a lot. And you
Okay.
can dilute it a tiny bit, but it's so delicious. And you
Really?
can use it as salad dressing.
I
Mix
use
it
apple
in.
cider vinegar sometimes.
I
for
know,
like
but
salad.
this is like the elite of
Yeah.
the apple cider vinegar.
Jesus Christ.
I
it's
have
got
some at home next time
the
you come
spice.
over.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I don't endorse sugar because I'm keto, but like the last time I made a batch, I made a mistake and I didn't make a mistake. I ran out of apple cider vinegar, but somebody left a bottle of honey infused apple cider vinegar at my house, the Bragg's one. It's a raw one.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh my God, I need to top it off. So I used some of that.
It was delicious.
And not just that, it grew like
You guys
a mother.
if you're just listening, her eyes rolled to the back of her head. She was like, Jesus.
It's so good. I have it at home. Next time you
Yeah,
come,
I'll try it. I'm gonna go over there. I'm gonna come back super fat, full of foods.
I'm gonna have him eat meat. You
Yeah,
watch.
she's been trying to make me eat meat forever.
After
I'm
this
like-
episode, Rick will start eating meat.
I don't know about that. You're
That's-
pushing.
That's what witches do.
Yeah.
They convince people.
Jesus. Yeah, and so you have a few of these books out now, and you still have the blog going,
Oh yes.
and and
full time and a full time practice.
yeah, and you have your full time practice where you have your clients that you work with. I don't know, like soda would be one of the biggest ones, but I think we're just becoming lazy, don't you think? Like,
Do you really want me to comment on that?
yeah, I mean, don't like. I just feel like culturally,
I
American
try to
Western.
be nice usually.
No, I mean, but sometimes you got to be real too. You got to call people on their shit. It's like, Western American culture is about fucking comfort. Like, how comfortable can you be? Instead of like working for shit, working towards and like putting in the work of like, I want to wash the dirt out of my vegetables and like cut the shit up and do it myself. Like, I don't know.
There is two kinds of people. And that's what I see in my practice every single day because I talk to a lot of different people, and I screen my patients before I accept them as a patient.
Because you don't want to deal with that nightmare if somebody doesn't want to change.
And still they slip in, but there are two kinds of people. And it's like when you go to a marketing company or an advertising agency as a business, they tell you there are two kinds of work that you can have. One is done for you, and the other one is do it yourself. So that's the two kind of people there are, is the ones that want it done for you and the one they actually want to do the work by themselves. So done for you usually means go to a medical doctor. He gives you a pill. You stop thinking about it. You go home, drink your soda, drink your beer, drink your burger. Eat your
Stay
burger,
asleep. Fuck it.
pizza, whatever. stay asleep. And the other option is that you do the work yourself. Because I think that with a little bit of like, thinking and common sense, this is not really that hard. It's common sense.
It's really
just
as
like
basic as it gets.
cranking the wheels in there and just thinking for yourself. Like, and I think that this is what your podcast is really about.
Yeah.
And I love that as like, people, think for yourselves. Don't be manipulated by the big corporations. Don't like be like the freaking human batteries like in the Matrix, because that shit is real.
Because I just feel like a lot of it's a choice too, right? Like everybody kind of knows, like the jig is up.
Absolutely only a choice.
And you're there and
An
you're just kind of like, oh, no,
choice.
this is cool. I'm happy with this. Like, are you sure you're fucking happy with it? Or are you being told you're happy with it?
Yes. But at the same time, I respect if people want to be asleep, then it's your choice.
It's a choice. You're playing the video game however the hell you want.
Exactly.
It's just life. We're playing it however we want.
I have a really good story for you, but it's part of the other podcast. So maybe at the end we'll talk about it for a second.
Yeah.
Like this, it's a very different topic. So back to the meat.
We'll get into a bunch of different topics. I don't know. What do you think is the biggest thing that's wrong with? Because I always like to talk about like, right, I don't eat meat, right, and it's mainly because, I mean, it's not mainly, it is because if I'm gonna eat meat, I want to get that shit myself. Yeah, go ahead. If I want to eat meat, if I'm gonna eat meat, I'm gonna get it myself. You know what I mean? And I want to have that. I don't want to be just there's a price to pay, and I feel like nobody's paying that price. And I just want to be real about it. Like I'm not gonna be. I just feel like that's so like, I don't know. It's so weak to be like, oh, just bring it to me. Like I'll take whatever you give me. And for me, I'm like, I don't want to eat meat because unless I'm killing this shit, you know what I mean? Like I don't trust anybody to give me or to give me what the best shit is, you know what I mean? Like they're not gonna be like, here's the best, cut. They're gonna give whatever you pay for. I don't know. What do you think is that? I want to talk about like the thing that's missing there, because I know you always try
the missing link.
Yeah, the missing link there. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I totally agree with you. First of all, because there was a time in my life where I was lucky enough to live on a homestead.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, you know what? You need to walk the talk. If you're going to eat meat, you need to like at least prove that you're able to raise your own animals and kill them yourselves, process them and eat them.
Try doing that.
Yeah, I did that. Well, it's hard. It's hard, but I think that maybe it's not for everybody that you kill everything you eat. But the process of killing and processing an animal, it definitely brings you back to reality and to the fact that you are taking a life, and that needs to be done a certain way. And the animal needs to live a certain way. When we raise chickens for meat, I was staying up at night, like worrying about those chickens, because like the chickens,
a coyote's gonna get them or something.
Oh God, everything ate them. The owls, the coyotes, the bobcats, the bears, everything. Sure. And that's because the chickens were so genetically like mixed inbred that they're just big fluffy white balls. They can't even walk.
They're chicken nuggets.
They're designed for being fat, and their quality of life is literally, you have to put their food and their water in front of their face, and then they'll go food, water all day long.
Yeah.
They won't even get up. They might have a giant lawn over there, all kinds of fun stuff. They don't. They just sit there and eat.
It's interesting. They're like, eat me. Bears, come on. Coyotes, bears. So you would stay up. You'd be worrying about them?
Yeah, and every day there was less chickens, and like I didn't know how to keep those poor chickens alive, and then like the 10 poor left chickens, we had to kill them.
Yeah.
It was rough, but it really brought it in for myself. Like if there was any shadow of a doubt on like we have a power, and our power is our dollars, and our choices, but especially the main power you have is your dollar and where that goes and what it supports. So when I lived
that's your voice in this society,
in this capitalism,
it's that's how they don't give a fuck unless you're cutting their checks,
Exactly. And so for me, like I started making friends with all the farmers, and that's kind of the Weston Price legacy for me. Was in the Weston Price Foundation, they're all farmers,
Yeah.
And like, so I made friends with all the farmers, and then they start giving me free liver. So I was really happy.
Nice. Nobody wants the liver except for Vivica.
Yeah, until I started teaching them how to cook it.
Oh, sorry.
And then there was no more free liver, but that's another story.
Yeah.
So
Like, this liver's pretty damn good.
yes. I start going to their farms and seeing their practices, seeing how they raise the animals, how they process the animals, what it takes to kill and process a cow. Be right there. Like one of my really good friends, she's still my really good friend, in Northern California, she does sustainable grazing. She has sheep. And she restored something like, I don't even know how many acres now, like hundreds of acres of native grasslands by sheep grazing. And she just totally modified her herd to be the best possible breed of sheep, like crossbred for that specific location. So they have the most heat resistance and whatever it is for her niche ecosystem.
She just releases sheep?
No, she rotational grazes them. And that's one of the big keys that I want to talk about as rotational grazing, because it's a big thing in sustainability. And for me, the whole meat...
What is it, though? What's rotational grazing?
Rotational grazing is when you have a big giant pasture and you divide it in little squares, and you create a system with like electrical removal, I can speak English, fences, that every day pretty much you need to move the herd from one patch to the other, so that they only graze about 24 hours, maximum 48 hours on the same patch, and then you move and you move and you move. And by the time they come back to square one, the grass is high again. And Joe Salatin, who's like, you know, my hero, and a lot of people probably never heard of him, but he's one of the theorists of these practices, and he has written like 5, 6, 7 books. He lives in Virginia, and he has all these different like animal husbandry techniques that he does with like cows and chickens and turkeys and pigs and rabbits. And all these animals live on the pasture as they should be and live like pretty normal, happy, decent life. Yes.
Because people don't realize.
And they process humanely.
Yeah.
Like they don't even get sent, because in America, laws are always in the way to good practices. Yeah. And laws and common sense are like.
That's what drives out the good guy.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times people who try to be organic or they have this farm or have that, it's
the
just
laws.
It's made for you to, because they're in control.
Because the big guys want the money.
Yeah.
You know, and that's another long story of how we got here. But
yeah, rotation, that makes perfect sense with the sustainability, because people don't realize that these animals you're eating, they gotta fucking eat, and they're big ass animals. You know, like these cows, like the deforestation that's been happening in Ecuador.
Well,
and
because
in Peru.
Cows don't belong down there.
And no, they don't.
And people don't understand that, like,
they're from Asia, aren't they?
We're omnivores, and if somebody that I was having a heated conversation last night with my friend Daryl, who I interview for my blog, is the latest interview. And we're kind of saying the same thing, but arguing about it. You know, it's kind of funny. But, you know, we're saying that, you know, I've been trying this all meat diet now as an experiment.
So it's all meat, and what else?
Water.
So you don't have any greens?
No. I just done 1 week of just red meat and water.
How long has it been?
1 week on red meat. Like the week before I did 80%, 20%. But,
do you get to put anything on the meat, or you got to eat it?
I put salt. I do put salt.
So
some people, they do nothing.
Meat and water.
Yeah. Why you think your dog is licking my hand?
Nala's been licking her hand like crazy forever.
I came here all covered in beef juice.
Yeah. She's like, sweet.
I had to eat lunch in the car because I had to leave my house like hours ago.
Yeah, she lives far away from LA, which that's why it's so beautiful over there.
So this is an experiment for me. And
this is the whole thing about this podcast. Stay curious. Like, there's always a different way. Your everything's ever changing. She loves you.
Yes.
And it's experiments, you know? So what are you trying to find out with this experiment?
So about all meat, like there's been a number of people, and I've been seeing it kind of like under my radar a little bit. They're doing carnivore diets. And instinctively, I always thought that like it's not the right thing for us. But recently, about a month ago, one of my patients that we've been working together very closely for about 6-7 months, and she's like, I'm going to do carnivore, because we have tried a lot of things, and she was vegan for many years.
And people don't realize that can be terrible for some people.
Yes.
I'm assuming it was terrible for her.
She's an Ayurvedic practitioner, so she knows about nutrition.
Interesting.
And still she was eating the best possible way with an ancestral like Ayurvedic knowledge and still being very, very sick. She's hypothyroid, her gut flora is all messed up. All these symptoms, like being really, and she's young. She's 33, I think, right now.
Damn.
So we started working, and she was already not vegan anymore, but I think she was starting to do keto a little bit, not having any success with it. So we started Keto Paleo, and for about 6 months, she went from vegan to vegetarian and then to Keto Paleo, which is what I do. So it's like, non-processed food and high nutrient food, no
sugar.
grains, no sugar, no fruit, very little targeted veggies. And she's still not doing that great. She was getting better, but very slowly and like chronically constipated.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Sorry, I'm talking about poop.
No, you're
that's
good.
That's what the nutritionist does
well,
all day long.
Everybody shits.
Yeah. So, and then she's like, I'm going to try this carnivore thing. And I was like, well, I don't know that much about it, but all right, let's try it.
Let's do it together.
Well, yeah, she kind of like, I'm going to do it. So she did a week, and a week later, she's like, I feel amazing. And I was like, oh man, I'm going to have to do this because I can't.
How do you feel?
Great. But
do you feel better than you did before?
Okay, I feel stronger. I definitely feel stronger.
But you've also been working out a lot more.
Right. And I have energy to work out, even though working out hard every single day.
It's hard. I do it every day too. Seriously. No, it's great. I'm glad
with no breaks?
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know if that's the right thing for a woman. Like maybe for a guy it's different, right?
But think about the animal kingdom, right? The woman is always a hunter. She's got to work that body. Think about it. The lioness.
No, we are humans, and we were the gatherers as women in hunter-gatherer societies. Well, yeah,
but I'm just saying if you take it all the way down to animals.
So we strolled around, picked the berries, stuffed them in our face.
What about what if there was like some Amazon culture of women who were just badasses and ran their own hunters. Shit?
Yeah. They rode horses. No.
Yeah. Like Xena the Princess Warrior. Remember her?
There's so much crazy stories that mix with reality.
Yeah. That's where it comes from, It's inspired from something.
I definitely think that being active every day is a must.
We have to get that monkey off our back because we're just so comfortable, man. I'm telling you,
But that's part of the lazy thing, and
getting that wheel turning, and it's the same thing with the body.
No, that was a big breakthrough for me of get your ass out there and move every single day. Yeah. That doesn't mean a hard workout every single day, but definitely getting out and
baby
moving.
Steps.
Yeah.
Baby steps.
And some hard workouts as well. And although, I always tell, if you have adrenal fatigue, take it easy and do it a different way. That's what the interview I published today was about. We talked about adrenal fatigue and different opinions on it.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier. For those of you guys who don't know, when we were talking about, blowing out your adrenal glands, going from one extreme to the other, we were talking about, doing these juice cleanses where you go on this cleanse and you're
detox,
retox, as you said. that blows out your adrenal system, so you have adrenal fatigue, right? Your adrenal system, basically, you're fucking tired all the time, and people don't realize I'm just so tired all the time.
The adrenals are already blown, and that just aggravates it. But
interesting, mine for sure.
What blows the adrenals is coffee, like that.
And I do this shit every day. This is my drug.
It is. It's a stimulant, and
I have a long lineage of this, though. My parents
grew coffee.
Yeah, they grew. My dad owns because when he was a little kid, he used to pick coffee, right? And then now he owns fields in El Salvador, so it's coffee's been in my family. But I know it's acidic.
But I think that even with coffee, like everything else, there is a tolerance level, and there are,
I'll pass it sometimes.
Some people is better, some people is worse. I know I'm almost allergic to caffeine. I can't process
what
caffeine.
Happens?
Through my liver. I don't ever sleep again.
Really?
It crashes me, but I'm still awake.
Yeah.
So I'm in bed like this, cursing myself for having that fantastic sip of coffee that I had at 5 a.m. the day before.
Jesus, yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, I don't have a reaction. I could drink a cup of coffee and fall asleep.
It blows me out completely.
Interesting.
And I think that's part of the genetic stuff, though. That's where there are some genes that we can't, even through all the cleansing and all,
Some shit your body's just like, nope, we're not dealing with this.
Yeah, it just doesn't like it. And I think there are some things for everybody that are kind of like our kryptonite, and for me, coffee is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Carbs, a little bit the other one, even though some people really differ on that. I think that some people like...
I do well on carbs.
So far, so good.
I know, that's what I'm saying, but it's...
I want to talk to you in 20 years and see how that changed.
Oh, man. What if I'm like super just... and you're like, what are you even doing?
It's possible.
Because my body responds really quick. My body like changes.
So does mine.
Really
and
quick.
Listen, I was skinny all my life. I never really worked out hard, but I've always been active and outdoorsy and like swim a lot. And I've always been like 120 pounds, 5'6".
Yeah.
That's all my life. And then all of a sudden, like...
all of a sudden,
it was like click. And, and for a woman, I guess might be different too, because like... men sometimes forget about hormones.
Yeah, the endocrine system is a huge play in it.
Yeah, because like our hormones are a whole different ballgame. Yeah. It's like playing tic-tac-toe and playing chess.
Yeah. Yeah, it totally makes sense.
Different game.
Yeah.
So when the hormones start to like go through that rocky phase of like changing and adjusting, and that can start really early. You can start in your 30s.
Depending on how you're treating your body,
And depending on how toxic you are and the stuff you put in your body. And the scary thing out in the world these days is endocrine disruptors. And
like what? What would be an endocrine disruptor? Birth control or something?
Phthalates, no, like chemicals.
Interesting.
Chemicals that are in the environment. So they're like estrogen mimickers or xenoestrogens, they're called. So they're like chemical compounds that pretty much act like estrogens once they come in the body. Have you heard of gynecomastia? It's the famous man boob.
Okay.
How come so many men are developing breast tissue these days, which is not something
that's what they've been talking about, that they have like elevated levels of estrogen.
And the trick here is not adding more shit to the body.
I need a little more tit, man. I'm gonna start.
They're not like pectoral implants.
I know, and I'm just kidding, right? It would be great if there was. It's like a literally like a breast.
No, they're pretty unattractive if you ask me.
I'm just kidding.
Sorry, guys. Whoever has this problem.
Sorry if you got man titties, man.
I respect your problem, but you can fix it, definitely.
But it's definitely in the food.
Detoxing, yes. Detoxing is the key. I was sharing on my page yesterday, there was a post about that. And there's a guy that made this video. It's like all about, the gynecomastia, man boobs. And he's like...
Gynecomastia?
Yeah, I think that's how you say it.
Interesting.
In my brain.
You're killing it.
Yeah, I think so.
You're blowing people's minds right now. People are like, what? This is a lot to take in.
It is. But, there's a guy trying to sell a supplement in order to balance your estrogen. But that's not what you do. You don't add testosterone to the estrogen.
Get rid of the estrogen you're introducing into the body.
Hello.
Pretty obvious, yeah. But that's kind of what fat-free.
Two bads don't make it good, right?
Yeah, exactly. When that's why I tell people, and they're like, well, I'm eating these Oreos, but they're fat-free. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, what are you doing?
Fat-free plastic.
Yeah, now it's just got more sugar, because when you remove the fat, it tastes like shit.
Yeah.
So they replace it with sugar.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're back to detoxing, right?
Yeah.
So, like the endocrine disruptors, there are things like phthalates and like perchlorates. That's a bad one. Like there's the kind of chemicals that are in dry cleaning. And so you put them straight on your body.
Yeah.
How many people get their stuff dry cleaned and then you just wear it?
I go to an organic dry cleaner. Get you a shit integrator.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a big. I watched a documentary on it. I think it was called Chimerical. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's about all the chemicals. Yeah, because you don't think about it, but you're putting your clothes on and you put bleach on this shit. Bleach has high mercury levels. You know what I mean? Like, and you're applying it straight to your skin, like. And a lot of
your skin is like a sponge.
100%.
Pretty much everything you put on your skin gets sucked in, and another
vitamin
thing
E
is
oil. That's all I got.
Sorry, I refuse the air conditioning. Somebody's getting out over here.
She's like, it's freezing in here. I'm like, maybe. Feels great, actually.
Should have brought my parka.
Yeah.
Could have had the AC on. I came all dressed for summer.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's great.
But yeah, so endocrine disruptors, that's a big topic and something that people really don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
I'm always kind
People
of
don't want
like,
to work, I don't think.
the why?
They don't want to work. Because once you know, like then you have a
Then you're gonna have to
responsibility.
make changes,
Yeah,
right?
and
And
then
like make better choices.
people don't want to make those changes, but everyone listening here does want to make some changes. So it's time to jump into some hot seat questions.
I know who's gonna answer here for me.
All right. It's your last day on Earth, and you've got nothing but the clothes on your back and $100. What's the first thing you buy? It's your last day on Earth. All you got is $100. You can buy anything.
So I mean, it's not something I already have. I have to
No.
buy it.
I mean, all you have right now on your last day is the clothes on your back. What would be the first thing you buy? You know what I mean? You can spend the day however you want, but you only have $100.
Probably something to eat.
You're like, I'm gonna get something
That's
good
so
to eat.
freaking predictable.
Yeah. You're gonna die.
You know, you're gonna want to know my dirty secret.
Yeah.
Okay, this is bad, but what just popped into my mind was like sea urchin.
Sea urchin? You would eat a sea urchin?
I do.
I've never even eat a sea urchin.
And I really like those guys. Like,
She's like, I like them. I just gotta eat them.
I know. Like,
So
I was
fucking delicious.
snorkeling in Mexico recently, and I look at them. They're super big, spiky balls, and
Look at this dinner.
I was like drooling in my mask, and I'm like, "Hi, I love you, but I could really eat you right now."
That's your primal self reaching out. God damn. That's funny. Sea urchin. Well, there you go. She'd buy sea urchin.
Like
That's not an answer
a
that I
pound
would've-
of it.
that anyone else would have given.
Most likely not, but I'm not your average person.
Yeah. All right. If you could start over and pick the country you were born in, where would you be born?
Man, you're asking an Italian? Come
Yeah.
on.
You would just say Italy?
Fuck yeah.
But it has to be another one.
Another one?
Yeah. Give me a second. A strong
Okay,
second.
Let me think. A strong second. Brazil.
Mm,
I lived in Brazil for
yeah.
10 years.
That's why you speak Portuguese.
Love Brazil.
Fala Portuguese. What is your biggest pet peeve when it comes to diet and people? Like when they come to you,
What's a pet peeve?
pet peeve is like the most annoying thing for you. Like, you know, when somebody cuts you off and they don't put their blinker on, it's a pet peeve.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like just a little annoyance. Like the biggest thing that annoys you, you're like, I hate when people chew with their mouth open. That's a pet peeve.
Vegans.
Vegans are cultish, right?
Yes.
Everything becomes a
Actually,
cult.
my biggest pet peeve is that for me, there are no dogmas, especially in food. Even keto. And like, I believe in keto. I believe in therapeutic ketogenic diets, but it's not a dogma. Keto is not a dogma. It's like no ketosis or bust.
Yeah.
Or like veganism or bust. Guess
Yeah.
what? There are some people that are actually vegan and
Yeah.
they're okay.
Yeah. And
You
they're
know,
alright.
you need to work a lot harder
Yeah.
and to really be okay on the long term before your brain leaks out of your ear.
It takes effort. I
It
just feel like
does.
you can do everything. Yeah.
But it takes effort to live well in these days
Period.
anyways. So
Which it should take effort, but everybody's so fucking lazy. They don't want to do anything. They want to sit on their lazy boy.
I so agree with you.
know.
But I can't tell my patients that.
But
'cause, like,
sometimes, you know, it's okay to feed that bad wolf. You know, it's like I always say we have two wolves in us, right? We have the good wolf and the
Yeah.
bad wolf. And it's like sometimes I will get Postmates. I'll order some food and they'll bring some shit. But then I'll eat it and I'll feel like shit right after. And I'm
Then
like,
you
okay,
know.
cool. I got that monkey off my back. I'm not going to do it for a while, you know?
Nobody's perfect. We're all just human.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's go to some current events. I thought this was fascinating here. Check out this plant. It's a plant that acts like an insect. They found it after 151 years after its discovery. They haven't seen it. It's called a fairy lantern. And it's a plant that's completely rejected photosynthesis. So it doesn't function like it actually eats the underground fungi for it to survive. And it's kind of crazy. Like you've been to the jungles of everywhere, right? You've been in Brazil, you've been in Peru.
Mostly in Peru. That's the main jungle
Yeah,
I go to.
Beautiful jungle.
Yeah, I've been to the jungle in Costa Rica a little bit, but just barely. But the most time I spend in Peru. In Brazil, I spend the time at the beach.
Do you ever see crazy shit like this in the jungles?
Yes.
It's kind of crazy, right?
Well, different kinds of crazy shit, but yes, I'm
Yeah.
not allowed to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. There's a lot of crazy shit in the Peruvian jungles. I want to go, man, real bad. I really, really want to go. It's
I'll take you next time.
oh man, I'm kind of scared. I'll go. Let's go. When are you going?
Big chicken.
No, I'll go. I'm not scared. You know me. I like to punish myself sometimes.
Yeah, we're good at doing that in the jungle.
Yeah, yeah. Check this
Jungle
out.
medicines are hardcore.
Yeah, yeah.
Not,
Jungle medicine.
not for lazy people.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. People who want to do work. People who want to work on this life for a living.
Oh no, I don't want to look at that. I'm in denial
man.
about that, man.
You're in denial about this. This is our
Yeah,
last
'cause
I don't like to talk about this usually. I don't bring
freaking
this type of shit.
cracks my heart.
But you know, like, but my whole family, they're it's my family's, they're from El Salvador. Like my parents were refugees from the war, so it's like we're talking about this whole child separation shit at the border. And what's crazy is that this is still happening. You know, it's people are like, oh, there's an executive order, but that's only good for 20 days for this executive order that Donald Trump has signed to stop separating families. And on top of that, the kids that have already been separated, some of these kids never see their parents again when they get separated, because they don't. A lot of these kids too, they can't communicate with them because they speak Mayan, different Mayan languages, or from Guatemala or from El Salvador. And man, I was driving the other day, and there's a viral video of this little boy. It's a video, but it's audio, and he's talking to the border agent, and there's two little boys, and they're crying, and he asks them where they're from, and one of them says El Salvador, the other one says Guatemala. And he's like, let me just go with my aunt. She's right there. And he's calling out for his dad. He's yelling. He's so fucking scared. And that voice got stuck in my head, and I was driving, and I don't know why. I just started bawling, crying hard, like in the middle of traffic, like 5 p.m. in the middle of Hollywood. Just, I can't even believe that, this has been happening, though. This is the crazy thing that we haven't even realized. It's been happening before Trump.
I know.
It's been happening with Obama, when Obama was in office. Like, these kids are getting separated. I don't know. How are you feeling? I know it's breaking your heart too.
It's just, one of the many things that, like, you see happening, and it's just like, I don't know. It's not just America. It's all over the world and everywhere. I've been to many countries. I've been to India. I was in India for 3 months, and Peru all the time.
Yeah.
And Brazil, and like all you see is like people like really just being really awful to other people and cruel, gratuitous cruelty, and this is one of the things, like human suffering, that we need to try to make sense of us. I feel like you can feel extremely powerless when you see things like this, but I want to bring it back to like where our power is. And the power to like make your choices, and with your dollar, like influence things with your dollar. Getting back to that. And I think that is also about not being lazy, because it's easy to feel overwhelmed like I do and stick. I don't want to see that. I don't want to stay awake all night crying. Because then you have a responsibility to do something about it. But I do something about it. And what I do is, you do way more than most people do. Trust me, I know what you do. Right, but I try to bring consciousness to people, awareness about your choices. I try to teach people how to take responsibility for themselves, not be victims to these big powers that are here. That's the lie that we've been plug told. Us in. All they want is for you. For them, you're a battery, pretty much. Yeah. And it's not like I believe that individual humans have a core of good in themselves. I agree. But sometimes, because of all the trauma and the separation and what happened in our culture and the way that we have grown up in such isolation and, just dysfunction, crazy dysfunction, plus malnutrition and, non-ideal brain functioning, because when you're hijacked on sugar and caffeine all day, or even malnourished, totally malnourished, different people in different countries who are emaciated and they're not, nourished properly, not proper thinking, lower IQ because of lack of iodine. I mean, it's a long list, whatever it is that gives us, and also it's like the illusion of separation that puts one person against the other. So if we really are going to talk about the thing that is at the core, it is the illusion of separation.
Yeah, I agree.
And thinking that you're different than me and whatever is mine, like you can't touch it because it's mine. And
that's
if
why
I'm
there's so much
okay,
pain here, because the separation is so vast in this simple situation where you're ripping people apart from their children, that you're putting people in a position of life and death, right? And it's like it's either you or me, you know what I mean? And it's
Right.
like, and that's how far the separation has come, instead of us empathizing and realizing that we're all the same fucking thing. Whatever I do to you is gonna come back to me, and I'm actually doing it to myself. Really, it's just, it's
Right.
this self-deprecating society that we've built. You know what I mean? And it's a subconscious deprecating. You know what I mean? We don't even realize that we're harming ourselves when we harm other people. We're so asleep to it.
That's right.
You know, that illusion.
That's a powerful symbol of separation, because that's what they're doing. They're
Yeah.
separating families.
And that's at the core of like that. What bothers me is that people are like, we're just following orders, these border patrol agents or whatever. I'm like, you have a fucking choice. Like there's, you know what I mean? Like there's cages and shit. Like that shit, it still irks me. It still gets me choked up. Like right now I'm holding it together, but like,
It makes me freaking sick in the stomach. More than choked up, it makes me angry. And like, but again, you know, instead of feeling just angry and powerless, I have
Do
to
something.
reframe
yeah,
and like just put on black and white. What am I doing to change this?
Yeah.
My personal responsibility. And that's what that's my message I try to share with everybody. It's like
live responsibly.
personal responsibility. If we all took some responsibility, you know, for ourselves, for our choices, for our health, and for, you know, what
Society.
affects, yeah,
As
like
a whole.
it would be very different.
Well,
But-
it would change the whole entire world if we all just worked on ourselves.
right.
The world would.
That's the only work you can really do.
That's it. And then we're so
Insane.
distracted on other people
Oh yeah.
that, you know, and that's all we're really doing is running away from our own issues when we're like, oh, but you're doing this and you're doing that. It's just like, well, you're just.
Everything is pretty much a distraction. Just like technology can be a major distraction, like the media, celebrities, you know, coffee
hate that
can
word.
be a distraction.
Oh, this is my biggest distraction. Weed is another one.
They're crutches. I
yeah.
call them crutches. You know?
100%. 100.
And it's so hard because when I totally understand, it's not like I'm a freaking superhero,
No.
you know, like I just work my ass off and like I really try to become aware of all the crutches.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you just make a choice, you know, like you say, sometimes you'll order in and then feel bad the next day. But we'd have,
But you have
to
to experience that.
prioritize an experience, right? And like find the crutches that are the less damaging and the ones that you need the most, and then just let them go one by one and see how you do standing by yourself and find your really strong core.
It's empowering too to
Very.
realize, like, look, man, like people always give me shit because I'll post videos on social media or whatever, like shirtless or something. I'm like, it's fucking crazy to me. I'll just look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, look at me. Like, look what the fuck I've made. This is so crazy. Just going from one extreme to the other of like what I was putting in my body, just figuring things out and then owning up to that responsibility of like, yo, okay, now I know something's wrong. Now I know too much, and going down these deep rabbit holes and having it be a long experience. Like a lot of the shit you're talking about now, I know I didn't have any idea of any of this shit just 3 years ago. You know, there's all these epigenetics and all this crazy shit, and it's just somehow the universe brings it to you and you figure it out.
Well, I think there is like a biggest movement right now on a global level for like awareness.
An awakening.
It's really happening, and
I'm excited.
I'm excited.
It's a little scary because there's a lot of misdirection when there's an awakening, right? It's like a bunch of.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we either gonna find our way as humans or not.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
whatever happens.
I think we're in a good place though, because again, like going back to this current event, like that shit was happening before, and now we're seeing it. Like, you know what I mean? So this is good that we're here because we know now we have a responsibility, and the doers are gonna do. You know what I mean? There's a lot of them.
It might sound crazy, but I was actually happy when Trump was elected because he's such a frigging idiot that.
You're like, good. Now you guys know it's just fucked up.
Yeah, that is gonna like irk people so much that maybe it'll wake up more people that like.
Absolutely.
Somebody like the lady in power say it's bad to get against her. You know,
Yeah,
she has her
yeah,
ways, but.
yeah.
Who is a perfect mask of containment, like, you know, perfectly proper, but then
Focus
the
group
stuff,
driven.
The stuff that goes on in the background is just
The
rotten.
votes, you know.
It's rotten.
She was one of the... Look, Hillary Clinton sent back 250,000 children to El Salvador, to Central America. She signed on to that bill. 250,000 children. Like, people don't realize this. Like,
I stopped believing in presidents a long time ago. There was a minute, like when
it's an
Obama
impossible
was
job.
when Obama was elected, there was a quick minute where I was like, hope, and I was like, yeah, right. What you thinking? Like, wake up, fool.
Sorry, guys, I almost got there, but I had to sell my soul to the banks.
Yeah, and even if they were like a really honestly good person with integrity and wanting to do a good job, they wouldn't last a minute.
It's an impossible job. It's a stupid system, and I think it's broken. Well, now that we've gone down a million rabbit holes, what do you want to leave the people off with? What's your one thing that you think, even though we've dropped so many gems on you bitches, you're welcome.
Okay, if you gotta eat meat, we didn't really get into this.
We didn't.
You know, Rick here has a very good point against like eating meat because like, you know, it needs to be a conscious choice. So I'm agreeing with that, even though I'm doing a carnivore diet right now.
Yeah.
All the meat I've been eating comes from the local ranch. And I was reading in a forum like 2 days ago, a carnivore forum. I'm totally new to that, but I was reading like no meat shaming. It doesn't have to be pastured or grass-fed. You can just eat like feedlot beef and it's okay because that's what you can afford. I do not agree with that. I think that you can all make better choices with your dollars, and maybe you compromise on the nail polish or the Starbucks latte every day, and you make some footwork, legwork, and you go find your farmer and you investigate that farmer and you see how he treats those animals and where they're eating and how the land is left after they grazed. And then, you know, you get yourself a freezer and fill it up with a whole cow for $4 a pound. And it'll last you probably a whole year, but you have the best possible beef. You're going to eat the whole animal. Nothing gets wasted. Liver included. Yes, sorry, but I can make some damn good liver.
Yeah. I'll take your word for it.
You know, and that's a conscious way to eat meat. And it's sustainable and is actually good for the planet. And no, cows don't belong in the Amazon because they're not from there.
No.
You know, people in the Amazon eat fish. They eat monkey.
Yeah.
They'll eat mahas. They'll eat
what's in the environment.
Yeah. They eat snakes. They eat jungle animals. So don't put cows there. They don't belong there. It's just everybody wants to be like in the United States, McDonald's and stuff.
And that's where all those cows are
paradigm.
at. Yeah, they're all those cows are in that part of the world where they shouldn't be being.
But look at Argentina. Argentina is grasslands, pasture, and that's their like very sparsely populated, huge pastures, and that's what this land needs. Is the cows have been living on them for hundreds and hundreds of years, and it's a whole culture based on meat, and the meat is like amazing, but it's all pastured.
Yeah,
it's work though.
It's environments.
That's a missing link. It's work.
Yeah,
and like you
it's
say,
work.
People are lazy. They don't want to do the rotation grazing. They just want to like use the big machines, the big tractors.
But we're waking up. The society's waking up, ladies and gents.
So eat better meat. If you're gonna eat meat, make better choices. Drive with your dollar.
That's
please.
all I say. Just make a conscious choice. Don't be a lazy ass. Like, you know, just do your part. That's what I feel like everybody's thing should be. Do your part. You know what I mean? We all have a responsibility to this place, to this existence, to all the things that we talk about, to all the things that we ingest. We have a responsibility to all those things, and no one is ever going to do them the way that we're going to do them for ourselves. No one's going to do the work for you, and if somebody does do the work for you, there's a compromise. You know, you're compromising quality, you're compromising nutrients, you're compromising your health, whatever you're compromising. Take responsibility, do your part. Episode 61. Thank you for joining me, Vivica.
Yay,
this is amazing.
We made it.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Thank you, Rick.
All right, guys. We'll be back next week. Hope you guys enjoyed it. See you guys.